co-founder of the ATID Student Leadership Program, and is among the architects of the Alliance for New Zionist Vision that was founded in the last World Zionist Congress. Reiss, who lives with his wife and 5 children at the edge of the Judean desert between Bethlehem and Hebron, works in agriculture, teaches Torah, and is also a frequent lecturer of history, Jewish identity, and Zionist ideology.
Toda. Tov, Erev Tov. What I'm going to talk about tonight is identity, but not, I'm not going to tell you stories. I'm going to try to show you, B'ezrat Hashem, how I believe that we can and should and must use our identities to move forward, to solve the issues that have been raised tonight. The first thing we have to understand, and I feel this very, very deeply, I don't think all Jews feel this, but I definitely feel this very deeply, that we Jews and Arabs and Jews and Muslims are very, very similar. I cannot tell you how many times I've sat with the sheikh, other sheikhs, and I feel at home, I feel love, and I feel a connection to really who we are, like who the Jewish people really are, things that we've forgotten. For example, you know, historically we tell this story about us having witnesses for the new moon. Today we have a technical way of doing it. The Muslim world still does it. I'm jealous. Wait, don't clap yet. The thing we have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that our identities here in the Middle East are important to us. We're not good Americans, and we're not going to be good Americans. There will be people who are going to be good Americans. That's fine. They can be here, but they're not the majority. They're not the people who are driving the forces here. I live and fight and will kill and die for things that I believe in, and I believe the same about my neighbors. I think we have things that are greater than us that we will fight for, and the efforts of the West to make peace here in the last decades has failed because the paradigms they're using are irrelevant, okay? And I think that's come out so powerfully tonight with all the speakers, Jewish and Palestinian. The paradigms are irrelevant. The solutions are irrelevant because they're based upon this concept that really deep down we're all good Americans. Okay, some of us have already seen the light and we want to send our kids to a good college and watch NBA basketball and drink Coca-Cola and wear Nike shoes. Okay? Consumerist, materialist culture. There are people like that. And others haven't yet seen the light, but we're going to show them the light. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no light. We're not going to be good Americans. I'm going to be a Jew. B'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, I'm going to live my life according to the Torah and not according to the agenda of America or Europe. And I expect the same of my neighbors, to live their life to the fullest extent of their identity, who they really are. And now we have to put these two together, okay? We're not going to be good Americans. We're going to be something else. We're going to be Jews and Palestinians, Jews and Arabs, Jews and Muslims, however we define this together. So that's number one. Number two, I want to apologize to the Palestinians living in the West Bank and Judea and Samaria. I want to apologize in the name of my people, even though they didn't ask me to do this, but I'll take the liberty to do so in my name at least. Okay. How can there be a refugee camp 50 years after Israeli rule in Judea and Samaria? Ladies and gentlemen, for me, I'm sorry? Oh, okay, so Myron, I'm going to go there. I believe we have a responsibility and a responsibility and obligation to this land and to all the inhabitants of this land. Yishai also talked about it earlier. I think this is something that's coming more powerfully into the minds of Jews who are authentically living this story that I talked about. What we've done for the last 50 years, guys, you have been the victims of a kind of Jewish schizophrenia. Are we going to be here? We're not going to be here. Is there going to be a Palestinian state? Is there going to be autonomy? Are there going to be settlements? Is there not going to be settlements? Are we going to give it to Jordan? How can you live a life like that? How can you expect anyone to live a life like that? We've fought for the short term, what I like to call Pax Romana. Ironically, the Jewish people have placed a system of Pax Romana Judea and Samaria. What is Pax Romana? All we want is calm and quiet for the short term, because we don't know what's going to happen down the road. There's no long-term vision. And so we have military rulers who are going to be there in Hosan and in Hebron for 2 to 3 years, and their job is not to screw anything up, so they be calm and quiet, so that they can continue on with their promotion to the next job. You cannot build long-term vision like that. You cannot build long-term vision like that. And what you end up doing, if that's your goal, calm and quiet, what you end up doing is you form alliances with the most corrupt elements of Palestinian society. And that's what we've done, because they have the power. Oh, you want a little money? Okay, we'll put you on top. I believe that what I'm saying is true. And the Palestinians here can tell me if that's true or not. What we should be doing is we should be working together for a long-term vision. We're going to be living here. My grandchildren are going to be here, B'ezrat Hashem. My great-grandchildren, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren are going to be here. How are we going to live our lives together? Because I'm not going anywhere. And you're not going anywhere. Okay?
The Quran says that.
Oh, so now, how much time do I have? Just so I don't...
You have like 3 minutes.
No, you're kidding. Okay. We'll go fast. I believe that the Torah demands on us, the Torah demands of us that it even says it in our halakha, that when we conquer land, the land to be conquered we have to enforce righteousness and justice throughout the land. And we failed in doing that. Is that right, Myron? You okay with that? Thank you. I believe we failed in doing that, and I think we have to do that. But now I'm going to tell you what I think are the 3 self-evident truths that we have to accept if we want to move forward. Truth number 1 is that the land's not going to be divided. We're done with that. I apologize to J Street, but I believe that is the consensus of the majority of at least this panelists tonight. We'll see in the next thing. Number 2, I think that there's going to be a Jewish presence in the land, as Sheikh Tamimi just said, that even the Quran talks about the fact that there's going to be a Jewish presence in this land, and that has to be something that's going to be accepted, because I know there are forces that don't accept that. Okay? And by the way, Musa, you spoke of the fact that religious Jews think that you shouldn't be here. That's not 100% true. I'm going to touch it in a second. Who's not supposed to be here are our enemies. But a non-Jew living in this land, absolutely. There's models for it. There's halachot, Jewish law about it, about how we're supposed to treat them, give them freedom of movement, give them freedom of occupation. Treat them, even there's more mitzvot, there's more commandments that I have to perform towards a non-Jew that's standing in that criteria in the land of Israel than to a Jew. Like, for example, it's forbidden to me to lie to you. When I tell you something, if you stand in this, you are not my enemy. Now, the number 3 self-evident issue, I think, is that the IDF is going to control the borders. I'm sorry to use the word control, but to protect the borders. I don't see any in the geopolitical reality of our existence. We saw what happened also in Gaza, and we see what's happening in Syria, and we see what's brewing all throughout the Middle East. For the protection of all the people of the land, the IDF is going to be in charge. It's the most powerful army in the region, and it should be working for the good of the entire region. And the secret to the good of the entire region is between us. And so now I'm going to tell you something that's going to maybe be a little bit new. But if we're not using the Western models, if we're not saying we're all good Americans, and I say let's use the Torah and the Quran to move forward, what are those elements? I want us to understand something very clearly. We have to make an alliance. Who? The so-called Jewish settlers, those who are really living the Jewish dream, and those who are living the Palestinian Arab dream, who are connected to their people, connected to their identity. The attempts to do this have said to the Jewish settlers, to like what I've called, is that we have racism, we're hatred, we're xenophobic. Whoa. We're xenophobic. Guys, that's a misdiagnosis. That's a misdiagnosis. The truth is, we just see you as our enemy. You're my enemy. And I tell you this, I love you guys. I really do. And I appreciate you, all of you Palestinians in here, but I want you to know you're my enemy. Right now, you're my enemy. Because in my story, in my narrative, there's a way that you stop being my enemy. And I think what we have to do is to make a concrete step forward, to make local councils, to make a local group, where I'll tell you what is necessary to make you stop being my enemy, and I promise you'll have no greater lobby and no one who's going to be pushing for you to go into Jerusalem, and no one's going to be pushing for your rights than the people like me. If you accept these things that are already written in the Quran, I don't want to quote the Quran to the Sheikh. What are these things? An acceptance. I'm talking about a formal acceptance and declaration before a court, before a rabbinic court. That's the way Jews work. I'm sorry. We're formalist in that sense. I need for you to stop being my enemy. a declaration in the form of a court that you are obliged to the universal humanist laws, what we call the 7 laws of Bnei Noach. And then, you know what? When a Jew sees you and they treat you wrong, you're going to say, you know what? I stood in the court and I accept the 7 laws of Bnei Noach. I'm kosher. I should be kosher in your eyes. And to accept what the Sheikh said, that the Quran itself talks about Bani Israel coming back to the land of Israel, and that that's legitimate and valid, and that the Quran talks about the fact that the Jewish people must follow the Torah, and that the Torah was given to Musa at Mount Sinai for the entirety of humanity, and that these human laws, 7 laws, are for all of humanity. If you declare these things before Rabbinic Court, and I'll be there as well, and I'll declare that I accept that, and that we can work together, we will no longer be enemies, we'll be allies, and we'll be able to shine out to the entire world to make this world into this region. It'll be good for the Jews, it'll be good for you, it'll be good for all of us. So I think that's a concrete step that we can take, even though it sounds strange to people, but I will fight for you if we stand before a court together and we declare before Allah Almighty that these are the things that we believe in, that we'll be able to stand together and move forward into a better place.
Thank you.
You have to stop being our enemies and start being our allies.
Okay. We're going to have a few minutes for questions, and more importantly, just as Rabbi Reiss was talking